my wife is Croatian. I've just been out into Croatia, just come back a few days ago. I can buy a packet of Marlboro, I won't mention the name, but I can buy a packet of cigarettes out in Croatia for €5. I could pay the same over here for £17. Now, that difference is just purely tax. It's got nothing to do with it's the same company, same brand, same everything. It's just purely tax. Now, all that money is going to the NHS, to the government in tax.
Yeah, it's not necessarily going to the NHS, is it? It's going to the government, but not necessarily to the NHS.
No, but if you consider the amount of tax that is being paid on those cigarettes to the amount that cost the NHS for treatment, and as your previous caller was saying, I'm a smoker, and I wish I wasn't, to be perfectly honest. I tried to give up God knows how many times. But I'm weak-willed, and I've succumbed to it over many, many years. But if you add up the amount that is paid in tax compared to the amount that is a budget to the NHS for smokers completely outweigh the amount that is paid to the amount that they cost. So when you bring up this argument of, it cost the government more money and it cost the NHS more money, that is a load of rubbish. That is just using tactics and using figures to twist in whichever they will to make it to their advantage. It is not a saving to the NHS. The NHS would be in a worse state if there weren't smokers, because the amount of tax that comes into the government that they can use towards the NHS wouldn't be there.
I'm trying to feel sympathetic towards smokers who are obviously addicted. So that's one side of the coin. But the other side of the coin is my parents used to smoke, and I used to remind them that there were dogs in laboratories having cigarettes stuffed up their nose to prove whether smoking gives you a cancer or not, and we know that it does. And apart from all of that, I just resent the litter that is produced by smokers. I was saying to your colleague that you go to a beer garden, there are cigarette butts all underneath the table. If I had a little toddler who wanted to walk around, I would not want them to walk around in that environment, so I would avoid it. You get cigarette butts stuffed down the cracks between the tables. It really upsets me. And you go to the beach, people smoke and bury their cigarettes in the sand. It's just disgusting litter.
But Heather, with regards to the beer garden and cigarette butts littering the place, I mean, that's on the publican, isn't it? That's on the owner of the pub for not cleaning the place up sufficiently.
Well, actually, you're probably right. But on the other hand, they probably wouldn't come out in the evening while people are enjoying their drinks and sweep up around their feet. So you just come to the table after the person before you has smoked and left their cigarette butts. I guess that's how it operates. What
would you say if they said we're going to reserve one particular area of the beer garden for smokers and everybody, all the non-smokers can occupy the rest of it?
Yeah, I think that would suit me just fine. And then they can, live in their own litter, for goodness sake.
All right, so
and kill themselves while they're doing it.
You're not vigorously embracing Keir Starmer's proposal, then, to ban it outright in outdoor venues?
I guess I'm not if there's a good alternative for people like me. Equally, I'm not totally against Keir Starmer because what he says makes sense. I don't think it's being a nanny state. I think some people just cannot think wisely for themselves, like junk food, fizzy drinks, all of that. We all know what the data is on that. And so why do they keep on killing themselves?
Yeah, well, that's exactly my point, that this is not just about smoking, or shouldn't be in terms of a public health discussion, because there are those figures that we were citing earlier about the negative consequences of alcohol in terms of the impact that it has on the NHS with the number of preventable deaths that are caused by alcohol, and things like the consumption of sugar that directly leads to public health outcomes comes.
To me, I don't know what the great man would have said, Winston Churchill.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a cigar now and again. But this myth about smoking costs and the money, it's the smokers actually subsidise the national health. They have charged huge £20 for a packet of 20 cigarettes. And they just seem to be, as you pointed out, just to be singled out. It should be a broad cover where you've got alcohol is just promoted. Come and get you 100 years alcohol, whatever. While people drink, they got lots of people who are in hospital for alcohol-related illnesses. You've got sugar, obesity. That I heard of none of those being targeted. Nothing about the junk food that you pointed out. It just seemed to be sort of, if you're going to do it for everyone. Do it. I mean, if you go to Cuba, you've got 90-year-olds where my mum's from with cigars in their mouth. You know what I mean? It's like we're not free. We can't all just go around as if we're automatons. You know, everyone just going around non-smokers. That's it. You know, life is not like that. We need to be free. Free. You see what I say?
Winston, is your position that they should either do everything or do nothing?
I agree with what you're saying. They should do, as I agree, I absolutely agree with that statement. They should do everything or do nothing.
Retired GP, just to make a very important point for all smokers, so could they please listen carefully? I do spread this knowledge locally, and some folk are really shattered by it. Right. It is a fact that if you take 100 smokers, 50 of them will actually die as a direct result of their habit. In other words, 1 in 2 smokers will perish early because they smoke.
Well, that is, and I don't think I'm pushing back against that at all, David, because that's a fact.
Literature, okay. And on reflection, actually, I think it's probably 5 years old, and I have a feeling that the latest figures are even worse.
So, but in that case, would you not favour a government going even further and simply saying this is so bad for everybody, we should ban cigarettes completely?
Well, I don't know whether, in fact, we could possibly do that yet. But, I mean, what the Prime Minister is doing, is something which I certainly am very much in favour of. And I think it's fine to push the point that basically, cigarette smoke is basically a killer. It contains many thousands of different compounds, some of which are known carcinogens. Now, with my chemistry background, in addition to medicine, I will mention one substance to you. Most folk will have never heard of it, but it is in fact phenanthrene. Phenanthrene is a polycyclic hydrocarbon, and for the chemists that are listening, they probably know this already, but it's, benzene is 1 six-membered ring, naphthalene is 2 six-membered rings side by side, and phenanthrene has 3 rings, but the third ring is slightly it's not in a straight line with the other 2. There's the boring bit of chemistry for you. Okay, but it is a carcinogen, and it's present in cigarette smoke.
And where do you stand on alcohol, David?
Well, believe it or not, I find this difficult to mention, but I will just mention it. I have read something on the internet. This is tends to be some American stuff, but I'm not quite sure whether this particular issue is American. But apparently, if you take the essential title of the article, which attracted my attention, is if you start regularly drinking at the age of 60 and onwards, then there is evidence already that in fact it does lead to a shorter life.
Yes, no, absolutely no question about that.